Welcome to LexTalk World Talk Show presented by Clickaway Creators. Today we have Mr. Adrian Peyer with us. Adrian is a co-founder and CEO of the startup company impactvise AG, Switzerland. It's like the first AI-driven startup that provides ESG performance insight, educational training, and advisory services for ESG and sustainability to law firms and in-house legal departments globally. So based on Adrian's more than like 20 years of experience, which is amazing, number of years that he has spent in the legal space. He also acts as a trusted counselor to senior management and the board of directors on critical issues like legal compliance, regulatory governance, board secretariat, and risk management issues as well. Without any further ado, let me just introduce you to the man himself, Mr. Adrian Peyer. Hello, Adrian. How are you?
Thank you, and thanks for the kind introductions.
The pleasure is all ours, Adrian. We are really glad to have you with us today. Please throw light on your journey as a legal professional so far. I mean, 20 years is a long time, which shows like, you're truly passionate about exactly what you do. So can you please also shed some light on your journey?
And yeah, thank you. And I think, look, as you said, 20 years plus in the legal industry. I started off at one of the, at the time, big five companies in the legal department, and then soon moved to a large insurance company based here in Zurich, Switzerland. I spent almost 19 years with that company, was always in the legal department, started off with governance, regulatory, then moved into litigation and investigation, got some exposure and projects for in the US, which was certainly highly interesting to see how the US legal market and system works. And then dealt with reinsurance, and then became also the general counsel at the headquarters of this company, dealing with M&A, finance, investments, and governance. I then was also the company secretary of the group of this insurance company. And I think there I really saw that this ESG, the sustainability topic, became center stage also in the strategic discussion. So it was not just a side note, but it really became center stage. And I think that then also got me thinking about my career, and where I then moved on, left this insurance company, big corporation, to found my own startup with a colleague of mine, to really try to have a positive impact also on the legal industry with this startup, which we can certainly talk about a bit more, what we do and how we try to influence positively the legal profession.
So basically, ESG is not just in the legal space, but in other industries as well. It is kind of becoming a very important trending topic. But according to you, is GSG like an opportunity, or do you think it's like a threat for the law firms and in-house legal departments?
So I think, I mean, just building on what you just said, I mean, it's ESG is becoming mainstream, in particular for listed companies. It's a requirement, but it's already moving from compliance to something bigger. The listed companies, they have to look at not only their own house, but really who they work with, the supply chain. And if you go a bit further than the supply chain, you now talk about the value chain. And we think that lawyers are certainly part of this value chain. And they are a key part in this value chain. They sit at many of the decision points a company has to take. Lawyers advise. And therefore, we see that lawyers have an opportunity to really now positively influence business decisions and really step up. And I think there, the thing is that you cannot just advise. I think you have to also walk the talk yourself as a lawyer. So this is a bit of a shift that you're not only required to be a great advisor, but the law firm itself has to look at how we behave, what are our values, and how do we play into this value chain. And I think that's the opportunity for the law firms to really now say, look, we're not only great advisors, but we are moving into the same direction as the clients and build even a closer relationship with the client. I think the threat is more for those who don't move, who don't act in this space. I think they will over time lose out some of the business because their clients will ask for some of these ESG kind of metrics and actions. And if you don't move, I think then you're probably going to move out of the value chain over time.
Absolutely, Adrian. Now, when I'll quickly move on to my next question, that how exactly the data playing into the assessment of ESG performance of law firms.
So I think if you look at data, you probably have two angles. One is the data you host almost you deal with from your clients. And I think that's a key topic nowadays, that you have to take care of this. On the other hand, I think where data plays an increasing important role is how you report, in particular on the actions you take on ESG. And I think there you really have to become much more transparent. That's probably difficult for some of the law firms. That's somewhat counterintuitive to a lawyer's behavior, that you become more transparent. But it's not about transparency, let's say, that you have to unveil confidential information of your client, not at all. But I think it's more about how you report on what kind of actions you take, how you measure your own ESG actions. And there, I think the key is that we somehow need to get to a common standard. And what we have now at our startup company, impactvise, done is we haven't created a new standard, but we've based our metrics now on the World Economic Forum standard and tailored it to the legal market. And that's the basis where we now can start comparing law firms. And we take publicly available information, so we're not sending out questionnaires. We want to push transparency and say, look, you law firm, you have to report on certain things. And we go and collect this data, we make it comparable. And we've assessed now over 700 law firms across the globe, and we can issue ESG report cards, we can score them, we can rank law firms. And I think that's the basis now for making objective decisions, how to engage with a law firm.
Thank you so much, Adrian, for sharing views with us on ESG. Now, we have already talked about the performance, actually not the performance, sorry, the importance of ESG. How do you think that, as you were mentioning earlier, that it is very important for everybody, every law firm and everybody from the legal space to include this? How do you think that people can do this? How do you think the law firm can include ESG in the process?
So I think on the one hand, you have the law firms. They're big, or smaller corporations or partnerships. And I think they have to, not just towards their clients, but I think also their employees, they start demanding more and more clear statements and taking a position of a law firm on how they view certain topics. I think one, let's say, easy thing is that you start reporting on, let's say, your greenhouse gas emissions, your diversity and inclusion goals. And there are many topics that you can report on how you deal with it. So I think it's, on the one hand, you expect the law firm to report on some of these ESG topics. On the other hand, you see that in-house departments, they start using these metrics for the selection of law firms. So in the past, when I was in-house, I certainly looked at, when I selected law firms, how much should they cost, so the fee, and are they any good? I mean, the skills. But more and more, you also look now, does the behavior of the law firm or the values, are they somewhat similar to your own company? And I think that's the new thing that, and that's also the opportunity for in-house counsel to really say, look, my selection process includes ESG data, and it's not just fees and skills, it's an additional element in the selection process. And I think with this, you can also position yourself internally as a thought leader, that you think about this, that you take this into consideration, and you contribute also to the strategy of your own company, because you select based on similar values. So I think there's, on both sides, external and internal, an opportunity to really include ESG in the process.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Also, now the two things in the question that I would like to ask, that how do you think that lawyers can scale up their ESG knowledge? But I guess this is something which is important for everyone to know. So if you would like to suggest this to a layman as well, so what would you suggest that we can, get to learn more about it?
So I think one thing is, I mean, if you look at the lawyers first, I think certainly they have to understand the rules and regulation. I think that's the basis that you would expect from a lawyer. And I think ESG is such a moving piece that you have to remain agile. You have to really understand the developments. And there's a piece of uncertainty in this, because the regulation is moving, and the regulation is behind. I think there is a social pressure. There's pressure from investors to the companies, and you have to think ahead. And I think that's now becoming true, not just for lawyers, but for everyone, that you cannot just look at, what's the current law and how to be compliant with this at this stage, but you have to look ahead and say, so what's the movement, where is this going, and how can I anticipate some of the trends and regulation that will come up already now? And I think that's where the upskilling comes in. You need to understand where this ESG, the sustainability pressure is coming from, the societal movement. There is much more behind this than just the investors putting pressure on companies. I mean, there's a societal movement behind this, and there is the climate crisis is one aspect, but this is something we all need to deal with. This is not something one company can deal with. And I think if you get a good understanding of where it is coming from, where this might be going, and how you can play your part in it, I think that's where you really upskill. And that's also, if I just may say so, we at impactvise, we've designed now a program with a business school, INSEAD, here situated in Europe. I mean, they're very well known for their business education. And why do we partner up with them for a lawyer's program? It's exactly to say, look, they understand the business, they see this trend, and they have the professors, the academy, but also the practical experience. And that's what we want to share with the lawyers in our sustainability program we now designed with INSEAD. And I think that's the uniqueness about this, that you're not learning, this is regulation 101, but you will understand where this is coming from and where this is going.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Adrian, for throwing light on ESG. At the same time, thank you so much for sharing that how exactly we can learn more about it. At the same time, I just want to ask you that how can the legal industry move from compliance to contribution? If you can share your views on that as well. We would love to hear your suggestions on this.
So I think that it's building a bit on what I said before. I mean, you can be compliant nowadays by just sticking to the rules. But I think that there is much more lawyers can do. And I think that's, even if you look at the history, I mean, lawyers have been, passionate about doing good. I mean, there's so much, let's say, pro bono work that is done. But this is one aspect. And I think that what ESG brings along is something that is much more holistic. You shouldn't just focus on being compliant or providing pro bono. I think lawyers have, if they really understand what this ESG is, the opportunity to, advise the client also with choices. So it's not just do this option A because that's legal, but you can say, look, there's an option B or C, which if you look a bit further ahead, will be what also is expected from society. Today, it might not just be legal, but in the future, that's what is expected. And it's better to, move now, to transition the economy now, than wait another 5 years until the regulation kicks in, and then you have to, do it all over. So I think the lawyers have a unique position now to influence the decision makers with choices. They offer choices and not just legal or not legal. And there you can get to contribution. I think that's where we can really have a positive impact. And I think that's also a bit the passion the founders of impactvise have, and say, look, we've seen that you can make a positive contribution, but you have to act. You need to get out there. You need to, be fully embedded also in the business and be a partner and have a seat at the table. Of course, wearing the legal hat, but really, looking into the future. And I think that's where you can really make a difference. And I think that's what, at the end, being a lawyer, hopefully is something that is, many people aspire to, and they really see now that there's a huge opportunity out there for them to help the economy to transition to a more sustainable economy.
Thank you so much, Adrian. I mean, as a layman also, I got to learn a lot about it. And I'm sure our viewers, they're going to enjoy this chat with the, when it's all surrounded by ESG, because it's something which is very new. I have not heard a lot of people talking about it. So I'm sure our viewers would also enjoy this conversation, because it is a bit different than other conversations that I've had. So thank you so much. It was lovely having you. Thank you so much for sharing such great insights and sharing your experience and knowledge with us. It's always a pleasure talking to you, just not this time, but it's always a pleasure. And we're really looking forward to some more conversations like these on some other trending topics in the legal space. Till then, for our viewers, please like and share this video, and do not forget to subscribe to ClickAway Creators YouTube channel to appreciate what we do. And you have more coming from industry legal leaders like Adrian himself. Thank you so much.